Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to India Game Changer. Today we are joined by Saahil Kapoor, hopefully I pronounced that right, the founder of Buzzaar. Saahil, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, Michael, it's a pleasure to be on your show. I'm doing great, going through the hustles every day. So, yeah,
I know the feeling. Look, I noticed this, and tell me if I'm wrong. Bizarre has two A's at the end. I also noticed your name has two A's at the beginning. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or if it was just because you couldn't get the website, but whatever it is, I love the symmetry.
my two A's are a bit of, long way back when I was still studying in school. It was some astrological reasons. Bazaar is completely, the way you pronounce it. So
Yeah.
there's no astrology behind it.
Either way, I love attaching meaning to things like that. Look, before we get to the main part of our conversation, can you give our listeners a bit of your background for some context so we know how we got to here?
Sure, Michael. After doing my schooling from Don Bosco, Delhi, I did my engineering. For first 2 years, I was in Manipal, and the last 2 years, I was in Delhi. So there's a bit of story behind that.
Tell me why.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Okay.
It's the usual engineering rowdy boy stuff. So my parents didn't allow me to study, far from home. Otherwise, I was on a twinning program, so I was supposed to go to Canada. But yeah, came back, landed in Delhi, completed my engineering. I worked for a while after that with companies like Microwave Lambda, Bharti Airtel, Videocon had got a license to launch telecom services in India. The company called Datacom. So I was there in projects, and after that, I found that I'm not made to do jobs. So I joined my family business. They were into manufacturing and distribution vertical. Couple of my friends were starting up, so the bug also bit me. With my first venture, I built chickenstew.com, which was a farm to fork model for everything non-veg, meat, seafood. I did that for 8 to 9 months. My family, being hardcore vegetarian, kept pushing me. That's not the right thing I'm doing. So,
Got it.
plus there was the family business, and everybody was like that I should focus more on that. With 2012, although the startup ecosystem was booming in India, but for the parents, it was very hard to understand what the startup is. What they understood was that this is the business, and you should focus more here. So I exited chicken stew, and again, got down to this family business thing. But then, it kept troubling me because I always wanted to do something of my own, and I had a close friend who was building. It's a big business now. He has built over a big startup. So 2017, I completely exited my family business to the extent I even had to walk out of my parental home.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's hard, right?
yeah, it's kind of a taboo in India when you are the only son and you're walking out. But yeah, I did, and 2017 I started again a company called Retouch, which was a C2B2C e-commerce platform for used devices. In fact,
It's a great idea.
yeah, so we grew to a level we became the buyback partners with Amazon and Flipkart to bid for the devices, one of the biggest in Delhi NCR. I had built a good company in-house team of around 17 engineers. We had a marketplace where there were around more than 150 resellers on the marketplace,
That's real.
with around 80 to 90 offline network of resellers in northern part of India, with two retail touchpoints in Delhi. But then COVID happened, and again things were back to square one because everything got disrupted. In fact, we were not getting any support for the devices, from the Amazon and Flipkart as well. So I exited that business as well. But COVID gave me a good time, to study this market. So that has been, now building Bazaar now.
I want to get to that in a second, but there's some other stuff here that I really want to unpack so people can learn about this a little bit more.
Sure.
You said you made this phrase, right? I'm not meant or I'm not made to do jobs. I don't think it's the first time you've said that. Like I can actually see you arguing with people about like, yeah, this is, but I'm just not made to do these kinds of jobs. Can we just dig a little bit deeper? Like, what is it about you? What's the feeling you have when you're in a job, whether it's in a family business or just working for a corporate, right? That feeling you have of, I'm just not supposed to be here. Like, where does that come from?
So, Michael, a couple of years back, when we talk about the corporate culture or even, Indian companies running their family big businesses in India, there was no such type of freedom, when you're working. In fact, you have to stick to the line, what you're told to do.
Yep.
And it was not in my nature to, I always love to experiment. I always love to think out of box. I always love to, go beyond the boundaries. But now these things are changing, with this startup ecosystem boosting in India. A lot of, in fact, American multinational companies in India and a lot of other companies are, they let a person run kind of a profit center, right, where they are responsible for running that business. All these things used to hit me hard. In fact, I remember my father worked for more than 35 years in the corporate world, and I was the one to push him into the business.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
I used to tell him that you have been building big businesses for others. Why don't you do it for yourself?
Right. Do you think that founders are made or born?
They are made, actually,
Go ahead.
Michael. Nobody's born. Over a period of time, you learn skill. What I believe is the attitude and the skills. Way they go way above what a degree can get you.
For sure.
I think if you have the right attitude, you can learn the skill set. You can actually, change the whole way of looking at things in a way. Plus a lot of people around you, that's why I said you have you should network well. You should have good set of people around you,
You should, yeah.
where from it you can learn. And learning is a forever process till the time you die. So as long as you're learning well, you can become a great founder.
I feel like there's a part of you that doesn't give up. In other words, you started this company. What did you call it? Chicken, tell me again.
Chicken stew.
I love it. Chicken stew. And then you had to get out of that for whatever reason. And then you started another company, right? The B2B to C company. What was it called? Retouch, which was a killer idea, right? And you had partners like Amazon and Flipkart. So real big business building here. And then COVID hits, and it's just like, again, I got to start this from scratch again. But you seem like a guy that just doesn't give up. Do you know what I mean? Is that a fair way to characterize this?
It's not easy to kill me.
Oh, I think that's going to be the title of this episode. It's not easy to kill me. No, but again, isn't this one of the really important parts about being a founder? Is this idea of, okay, that didn't work, but let's keep going. It's this real learning loop that you were talking about, right? That's super important. I want to go up another level again, right? Because you also said this thing about it's really important to have great people around you. I struggle with this a lot, and I have like my entire life. How do I find those people? Like, how do I know? Or what process do I use to test, right? Because someone can look great on the outside, being during a first meeting, but then afterwards you find out all these other things about them. What is the way you go about doing this?
Michael, there are no fixed set of rules.
For sure.
Some people they find it early. With me, things have always happened very late. Like my mom tells me, I started walking very late.
Fair enough.
So
Maybe you just weren't interested in it, right?
yeah. So over a period of time, in fact, there has been a lot of push from my father and my wife, in terms of venturing out
Yeah.
and think from like everybody has a time, when you are just partying and you're focused on going out, having fun, drinks. But yeah, over a period of time, all these things take a backseat, and you start focusing more on yourself, on the people around you, trying to know. Like you said, people might look very good from outside. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it takes time. It takes time. That can come inbuilt for few.
Yeah. Yeah. I still struggle with it. I want to understand this too. You come out of COVID. I think, look, I learned a ton during COVID about my own business, right? And you're right. I did take a lot of time to sit and think about how can I build this? What should I do? What should it be? But you came out and started building Buzzaar, right? Maybe you
Right.
just want to talk about what the idea was there, why you figured this out during COVID, and then what's going on now.
there were a couple of ideas I was contemplating at that time. I was trying to explore fintech. I was trying to explore social media. In fact, we started building a social media app focused on privacy for women because an incident happened with my wife, and on researching, I found a lot of women in India
Yeah,
go through this
everywhere
problem of
really. But yeah,
spam. But then, we beta tested the product. So, there are two things. One is the network effects. Second, good to have and must have, right? So I failed in both of them for that social media app. So it was good to have, and plus network effects you need network effects for any social media app to work, right?
yeah,
And I then started figuring out what my whole career have been. It have been more on the growth and scaling businesses, right? As in the marketing, the business development, the sales. Plus, I have been interacting with all my career. I've been interacting with a lot of retailers, a lot of distributors, a lot of consumers for that matter, whether that was in the devices, whether that was in the telecom, and marketplace has been something very close to me as a business. And plus, when we think about retail in India, Michael, retail is very, it's at a very grassroots level and centuries old, right?
yeah.
Even despite the fact a lot of quick commerce startups come after the lockdown went away, after India was open, all the retailers were back to their businesses.
Yeah, so can I interrupt here for a second? So
Sure.
this idea about all these what I'll call kind of mom and pop shops, right? Went through a phase both in the United States and in Japan. So two places that I've lived the longest in my life, right? Where big retailers came along and kind of destroyed them. And there was no mechanism to save them. But I always felt like the neighborhoods in which they operated and the communities that supported them were losing something because they missed that ability to, like, when I pay for something at a store and I know that the owner is the guy or the gal that's taking the money, I'm very serious about this. That makes me actually super happy. And I'd rather go to the that little mom and pop shop and give that guy $1 rather than go to 7-Eleven and give the same for the same product $1 because I know where that's going. That's going to send that parent's kid to college or to buy them a car or to buy them clothes. And I know what that's like too, and that makes me happy. I know I'm talking a lot, but I feel like not only are you saving part of the community by doing this, but you're enabling to compete in a way that wasn't possible before. And that's why this works. Is that right?
Absolutely true. Absolutely, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. If you see closely, all these mom and pop stores in the community, they kind of what shall I call them? The kind of kings or very close to that community, because
Yeah.
these are the people who have been sitting there for a couple of years. They know the people around by the name, right?
Yes.
For everyday shopping. I mean, nobody takes their car and go to supermarts every day, right? And
No.
these are the people who come in very handy
Yeah.
for small orders. So I believe, Michael, if with proper technology, and like India has come up with a very solid system called ONDC, if you've heard of it.
No. What does that say it again?
It's the Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. Like, it's something very similar to what UPI did to
Yep.
payments.
Yep. Go ahead. Can you make that comparison? Because that UPI thing is so important. And if ONDC is having the same impact on retail that UPI had on fintech and payments, this is a big deal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so ONDC has come into the picture, of course, to not as a competitor, but to support these small retailers. But majority of the retail network in India, these people do not understand technology at all.
How could they? I mean, yeah, I mean,
That's where I believe a startup like ours can come into the picture, actually bridge that gap, also support these people to become the part of quick commerce revolution.
one of the things, and again, I'm going to use Japan as reference just because I'm sitting here, right? But I noticed today I went on this sort of 5 to 10K run. There's a 7-Eleven like on every 4 or 5 blocks because they kind of serve multiple purposes. One is their payment centers. You can actually go in there and pay your phone bill. Two is you can shop there. But three is they're almost like a mini warehouse, right? Because the 7-Eleven businesses are really just logistics businesses. So if you can layer that on top of these, what do you call them? Kiranas, right? In India.
Right.
You're because you're mixing this like old business that it could have been there for generations, right? Not just for a few years, with modern technology in a way that just simply wasn't possible before. I'm super curious about like exactly what it is that you're building and how it interacts with these individual businesses, and then how it interacts at scale, but also the impact that it has on those families that have been running those businesses.
Right. So I'll tell you, Michael, like all these quick commerce companies, they run dark stores, right, in
Yep.
India. They're still trying to be profitable.
Yeah.
Whereas these small businesses, they're earning little bit of profit, but whatever they're earning, they are supporting their family.
Yeah.
They're trying to pay back their small loans, like a two-wheeler loan or three-wheeler. So think about it in a way. What if these stores become kind of a network or for organized deliveries, where apart from a walk-in customer they serve, they can also fulfill the digital orders,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Think about kind of volume they will get, plus kind of coverage they will enhance in the overall business.
So do you enable them to do group buying too, right? Because there could be one store like a kilometer away from another store that are completely buying separately from, let's say, from Coca-Cola or from Procter and Gamble, right? Little bits of soap, little bits of sachets, little bits of drinks. But if they all order together, they could probably get a discounted price and hence make more money.
Yeah, I think that's a separate business model of group buying. There are a couple of startups in that which are working on that. What we are trying to do is on our app, we did a small POC. We are now making some sort of changes in the app and launching the final version next couple of weeks. So what we do is the consumer gets the option to choose a particular store nearby based on the location, right? If some stuff is not available there in that particular store, he has the option of order from a couple of few kilometers away. But yeah, the main focus is on getting all those stores discoverable on the app. More than 88% people in India, they love to shop offline from their favorite trusted stores. In fact, I was surprised. I did a small survey on the LinkedIn. I was not at all, I was shocked that I thought that LinkedIn audience was more of a quick commerce types, right? But more than 70% people opted for this offline, that they do their grocery shopping offline. I was surprised.
It's interesting you say that. I'm going to come down on the side of not being surprised. And maybe it's me just talking my own position. I don't enjoy shopping online. I want to be in a store. I want to talk to the salesperson. And I don't think it's just because I'm 57 years old. I want to interact with other people as well. That's part of the shopping experience. If it's just click this, click here, give me your credit card, it's not even fun. Is it? Is that fun for people? I don't know, right? But there's a human element that I think is really important. So I'm not surprised about this. I would also ask this too. What do you install inside these stores to make them discoverable? Right? I understand like being on a marketplace, and how happy, like they must love you when you do this for these stores, no?
Yes, so I'll tell you, Michael, it's just a 2-minute registration process for these stores. It doesn't take much time. They do not have to invest anything. Plus, apart from, once they register online, we install a small standee in their stores. Whatever walk-in customers are coming at their stores,
Right.
we get to know that they can order online from this specific store through this app. App is content driven. Plus, we have tied up with a lot of upcoming D2C brands in India, to start with beauty, personal care, and wellness. They also get the penetration through these stores, because stores focus mostly on the regular FMCG products, legacy companies which are fast moving. So here the store also get access to the over the top virtual inventory of these newer brands, and the customer is happy, the store is happy, so we are happy.
How important it is for you and for your company as well to support these new D2C brands, right? In other words, it's okay if everybody wants to buy, from, I don't even want to say the names of the companies, but you know the big ones, right? If everybody wants to buy from them because it's easy and they understand it, that's great. But these smaller D2C, whether they're fashion or beauty or whatever, are very similar in scale and scope to these Kirana shops as well. And plus, they're supporting families too, right? In other words, they're started by real people that have real needs, right? They're not
Right.
just being started as a hobby. And it gets back to this thing that I said before. You give them money, it makes everybody happier. How important is that to you and to Bazaar itself?
That's very important for us, Michael, on the overall level. I think all the good businesses are built if, what I've learned over a period of time. So for me, my customers are these Kirana stores, upcoming brands, where these big giants do not want to keep their hand, right? But these are all potential companies which could grow big. Plus, in India, there's a lot of, if you go to a customer with a newer brand, they will ask their friends, have you tried this?
Right.
They will try to check it, a particular product at a mall. But these newer brands do not have that bandwidth or capital, to get into that distribution business yet. So that is where, we have made a very good model, I must say. We have kind of gamified where on certain gamification, the customer gets the free samples from these brands absolutely free of cost. So that's where the first obstacle gets down, trying out a free product, which everybody does,
Yeah.
right? So if they like the product, they can order it on our app. So that is where, the whole flywheel starts, right? Plus, these brands also get the penetration. They get, they get to go inside a household, penetrate that household, right?
Do you feel like, because you said you're constantly learning, right?
Right.
And I always say this about my own business too. The business that I thought I was going to be running, that I thought I was going to be starting, it looks very different from the business that I actually am running, right? Because I've learned stuff along the way. You're shaking your head, but is
Don't even ask me now. I talk to my wife. She tells me, I don't know what the hell you are doing. You started from something, you are building somewhere. So,
but it's interesting, right? Because when you first said to her what you were going to start, I'm sure you sat around the dinner table or whatever, or sitting at a coffee shop and had a conversation like, yeah, we're going to do this, and I have this idea, and I'm going to fill this market gap. And you start writing
right.
the software, you start hiring the other engineers, you start contacting whoever, and then you're like, okay, I'm a learning person. That's not working, but it's kind of close. I'm going to make a left hand turn here, then I'm going to make a right hand turn here. And then you come home. I'm obviously simplifying this, and your wife goes, what are you building again? You're like, never mind, because it keeps changing, no?
Yeah, I mean, I believe, Michael, a bit of strategy changes. The overall business idea has not changed,
Fair enough.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I cannot afford to do so. My team will run away at the first moment I do so, that this guy is building something else. Now he's building something else. Now he's always learning. So, the third day he'll say, let's build something. So, no, the idea has not changed. But yes, I was very much sure that we need to get into a business where we need to support these upcoming brands as well as, combine it with the Kirana. So it's a huge network in India,
Yeah, it
right?
is gigantic.
It's like 12 million shops. It's a $70 billion untapped opportunity, right?
Yeah,
The overall idea has not changed. Yes, a bit of strategy change. How
right.
should we go to the market in terms of UI, UX? What can we change a bit in the app? That is, always evolving, right?
Sure.
Even after we launch, 3 months down the line, more things will change based on the customer feedback, right?
Are there things that you see changing over time, right? In other words,
Amazon started as a book selling platform.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember I was there. But I do think Bezos always had the idea of becoming like this overriding retail thing. If you go back and listen to him talk, and I'm never sure if it's just if it's hindsight is 2020, but if you listen to Jeff Bezos when they started adding new products, his idea was books is really fragmented. It's actually the easiest thing to do. It's very little competition. Nothing's changing in years, and a book is always going to be a book. It's always going to be a book, right? So it's different than, they sold CDs too when people listened to music on CDs, but then when it started going digital, it didn't really matter, right? So all these learnings that came from that, and you're right. I just want to be clear about this. When I said change your mind in learning, it's not the overall business. It's just like the strategy of implementing that business to get to the state where you want to. That's where all the learning takes place, right? And I think that's super duper cool.
Right. So in fact, Amazon also realized the importance of offline, That's
Yeah.
why they're trying to
Yeah.
close. I believe not just in India or anywhere in the world, the offline is never going to go away out of
Never.
fashion,
Never.
right?
Never. For some of the reasons that we talked about, but for other reasons that like you're just walking down the street and like, I need a cup of coffee or I need to get some bananas or I need some toilet paper or whatever it is. And if the shop is there, you're gonna go in. You're not gonna go home and then order this stuff. It's just not the way the world works. We talked a lot about where things are today. Talk to me about where you think things are going.
the segment where we are in, this mini format retail, which I call it, it's highly unorganized, right?
Yeah.
Our idea, if I talk about our mission and vision to be, very precise, I want to build India's first hybrid mini format retail shopping platform, with the vision that it should be the default solution for shopping in the neighborhood, right? That is what the aim is, and that is how we are building. We are too small, but yes, the ambitions are very big.
I do really like this idea of maintaining these sort of multi-generational, what did you call it? Mini format Kirana shops.
Nobody's looking at them right now.
Yeah.
But from digitizing them, there are a lot of challenges I believe that would come. In fact, I remember when we were doing a POC, we had tied up with these D2C brands. So I was partnering with these stores. They started selling the app to their consumers. Okay, whatever is not available at our store, you can order from the app and you get these newer brands.
Yeah,
So a lot of these store people, these store owners came. Why don't you, sir? Why don't you list our inventory, right? Like for example, it's not an easy task that a single store might have 50,000 SKUs, right?
yeah,
Combined with multiple stores. So yeah, so I found yes, there could be a good business if we do that. Plus these stores, a good push. They have every store has a set of their loyal customer base,
for
right?
sure. Are there other ways, right? You said there are 12 million of these shops, right, in India.
Right.
It's a gigantic opportunity, multi-billion dollar opportunity. And part of the benefit of running this business, Bazaar, is that, like I said earlier, you get to help these families, these multi-generational families that are running these shops. Are there other things, other services you can offer to them that will also help them? And I mean this very seriously, like investment services, insurance services, and stuff like that you can put on the platform too that really do help them. In other words, they don't just earn money for you, but it helps them out as well.
Like I read today again the learning which I'm sharing.
Go for it.
uh, I was thinking of once scaling. I was thinking of we just took a gentleman on board as an advisor and a mentor. He
Okay.
has been a very senior person from Reliance Retail.
Yeah,
Reliance is a big giant. We were talking about how we can support these Kirana stores in terms of the supply chain, as in the B2B segment.
yeah.
It's becoming very competitive in India. It's kind of a bloodbath, right?
Okay,
When
interesting.
we talk about B2B, right? So, there are a lot of ways where we can help these Kirana. So in terms of getting credit lines, for placing orders, right? Launching BNPL kind of products for them, where they can order products from these FMCG companies like buy now, pay later kind of services. So there are a lot of things, which can be done. When I was talking to these store owners, a lot of store owners do not get credit, even as low as, let's say, 1 lakh of rupees, because they do not have they are not GST registered in India, right? So that's where a lot of products can be built over a period of time to help them, scale their business profitably and with volume.
I love this idea. I've got to have you come back in like 6 months and learn more about what you're doing and how the building is going. But before I let you go, I want to ask you one more thing because this is also important to me too. We read a lot about in the tech press, right, and in the startup press about how you're constantly hustling, constantly doing this, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't think it's the right way to live. I mean, one of the biggest benefits of having your own business is you get to manage your time in a way that to me is way more, what's the right word, efficient than it was when I was working at Goldman Sachs, where I literally had to be at the office at 6 and I probably couldn't leave until 7. And it didn't matter. This is a true story, actually. One of the guys that I worked for, who was not a nice person at all, said to somebody, and this was metaphorical, but he actually said these words: go get your chemotherapy when the market's closed. Now,
Oh,
that person didn't have cancer, right? So it wasn't directly like that, but that was the mentality. He was like, yeah, yeah, there are important things, but this is the most important thing you're doing. And I think if you're running a business, that's not the way you treat the people that you work with, but also treat yourself. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit as well.
absolutely. For me, Michael, my team is very important. I believe at times you need to be a bit strict, but most of the time you need to understand, because everybody has their own set of troubles, problems, and responsibilities,
They
right?
do, yeah.
I, as a founder, will not understand. In fact, I have in my team there are two people who have been very closely since the time I started contemplating fintech, social media idea. They've been very close with me. In fact, for first few, I think 1.5 years,
Yeah.
these guys work without any salary or stipend,
Yeah.
right? So I believe if they are putting their faith and trust in me, I need to repay back in the similar way, right? I need to take care of them. I need to understand them. A lot of times, sometimes people tell me, Sahil, you're too soft. So you stay out. Let me talk to them. But I think that's the way. So for me, my team is very important, and I especially take care of them.
Okay. I'm going to let you go. That was really great. Saahil Kapoor, the founder of Buzzaar. You got to come back, please, and talk me through what growth is like and how that's going, if that's okay with you. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Thanks, Michael.